It's now time to go live with Inside Sports Talk Radio on Power 95 FM with host Ian Mullen and co-host Earl Mason. This presentation of Inside Sports Talk Radio has been brought to you by
Is Davis last in the basketball player?
Shakira Warner, the Arkansas Global Atlantic Finance Home Group, and Fit for Life with Dave Wolf. Now, let's join Inside Sports Talk Radio.
And good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Inside Sports Talk Radio. It is Monday, July 20th, 2020. I'm Ian Rollins along with co-host Earl Basin and Don Bassett at the controls. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
All is well.
As well as we can expect it.
As well as we can expect it. That sounds like a winner to me. Yeah, guys had a great weekend.
Yeah, it's been
48 hours, I should say. Just a tad bit hot, huh?
You think? Everybody was on the beach, man.
Yeah.
Picnicking on the beach, barbecuing.
Everybody's getting ready for the long weekend, next weekend.
Yeah, 4 days of
4 days of
heat.
relaxation.
Heat.
High humidity.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have rain. I think rain forecast is out on the weekend or thereafter. So be mindful. It may rain on that Thursday and Friday next week. Let it rain? That was some sunshine.
Yeah.
You know?
At least one day.
That was 2 days. I want 2 days.
Hot sunshine.
Yeah.
We'll pray for that for you.
You do that for me?
Yeah.
Do the Indian dance?
Rain dance.
Sounds like a winner.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
Yeah, man.
Cool. Well, I just want to let our guests know today's rundown of guests that will be joining us. Mike Wolf and Ricky Mallory of the Bermuda Tennis Association. They will be joining us. Chico Baboon, men's classic physique, competing in classic and men's physique in Bermuda and overseas. He'll be giving us update on his sport and what he's been doing with himself. I think he's down in Miami, Florida. Interesting.
Yeah.
This time of year to be in Miami, Florida.
We'll sanitize the phone and the mics.
And a bit of, and some more. And Shakira Warner, the population health specialist, will be joining us today, the Arkansas group. And of course, Mr. David Lambert, former president of the Bermuda Tennis Association, and he's president of the Pro Registry Tennis. Just want to let our audience know that David Patrick was supposed to join us, but due to his schedule, he's unable to join us.
Trying to work on it again next week.
For next week, try to work on that. It's interesting that he's got basketball practice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He let us know and apologize for the late notice that obviously he's with a new school now, Arkansas, and the head coach called a training session for roughly 4 hours this morning, and right now they're training. I guess with all the requirements of social distancing and all that, it's going to take a while for everybody to get used to the system. So I guess they're just trying to make sure everybody understands how it's going to work and work through those kinks. So, you know, it's one of those things when you're in the professional world, even in college, it's considered a professional world because coaches make money and, you know, that's how they make their living. And then they make gradual steps up to, you know, that next move. So.
And with COVID-19, there's obviously procedures and protocols put in place that they're going to have to go through. I'm sure they're starting that now. Yeah. That's why they're getting that ready for this. I can't even say fall season because we don't know if there's going to be basketball in the fall.
Well, if you look at it, I guess the NCAA are trying to work out the sports that make them the most money to make sure that those get played. Yeah. You see, there will be some form of college football at some point. There will be some form of college basketball at some point. Those two are major for NCAA.
Yeah, and the universities.
Yeah.
But I think when we discussed last week that there'd be more playing in their divisions. So Arkansas, I can't remember the division they're in, to be honest. I don't know if it's the SEC or what.
Right.
If it wasn't the SEC, correct me if I'm wrong, they'd be playing most likely just SEC schools as opposed to traveling out west to California or something like that because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And then today you see baseball being played.
Mm-hmm.
Exhibition match, obviously, for the season to start next week.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, it's funny because over in Japan, they've been playing baseball and softball because that's big in that, over there. They've been playing it for almost a month and a half now. Yeah. Behind closed doors, obviously. With all the rules of restrictions and all that in place, but they've been playing for quite some time.
Wow. And how was your weekend? How was the covering of cricket and things of that sort?
Yeah, it was a good weekend. I mean, you had several matches, about two matches on Saturday, well, one match on Saturday, one match was called off, and then you had two doubleheaders yesterday, two at Whitehill, two at Lords and St. David's. Some exciting finishes. Some plenty of runs scored. Um, we also had Comet race in
That's right.
St. George's Harbor. You had cycling at Southside. You had tennis tournament going on at Fairmont,
Fairmont
the
at
doubles,
yeah.
Manders Tennis Management doubles, and obviously the BLTA, which we'll hear from Mike and Ricky very soon. There's actually a midsummer open going on at the tennis stadium. And then this coming weekend, they're playing Davis Cup style cup match. So you'll get more from those guys as to how it's all going to pan out as far as team selection and all that. So it's going to be interesting. And believe it or not, sports is really starting to pick up again when you talk about the volume of sports going on. It's just being done in a little different way. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I guess we've been in this mode as long as the pandemic is here and COVID-19.
Well, like as someone was saying in the Caribbean maybe two weeks ago, we just have to learn how to live with it. It's not going anywhere fast, so you can't keep everybody tucked away. You just have to respect the rules that are put in place and try to manage as best you can with what you have. And then as you get, as it gets on, you start to grow and learn more about how you can actually evolve your sport. The big news this afternoon is that Oxford have tested over 1,000 people, and there's a vaccine that they've actually now saying that they very, very soon.
Really?
If it is not already, the vaccine is being tested right now. It was breaking on BBC about an hour ago that there's possibly a vaccine that they can probably have in the next month or two. So, if not sooner. So, yeah.
Oh, then the Prime Minister earlier said today he don't think there'll be a vaccine anytime soon.
Well, if I'm gonna listen to
Him?
well, no. If I'm gonna listen to a politician and a doctor, and we're talking about medical, I'm gonna listen to the doctor.
No, I know you got nothing. I know you don't have 45.
No, sir. I don't have 45, 46, or 47.
For sure. Well, 46 may be suitable.
Well,
45, no.
listen, if 45 is still in place in 2021, yeah, it'd be another.
I'm saying it right now. It ain't happening.
Okay, stranger things have happened because we didn't think it would happen the first time.
I know. I beat my word. Right? Damn, 45.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Just give an update here that's happening in Test cricket right now. England West Indies West Indies up in series 1-0, and West Indies need 148 runs to win, but it's tilting towards England right now. Reply, England only need 3 wickets, 4-3 now. Jason Holder, the skipper, the all-rounders at the wicket of 17, and Kimo Roach is now at the wicket. So tail end is decided to
and still possibly 2 hours of cricket to play.
So it favors England.
Oh yeah, they better start doing that Manchester rain dance or something.
Yeah.
That's going to be the only hope.
And the last 10 overs, I think, is a new ball.
Yeah, after 80 overs, yeah.
80, 85 overs, something like that.
Yeah.
It's a new ball. I can't remember offhand.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. So it's kind of favoring England right now. So we'll see what happens.
Well, it actually would make the series that much more interesting in the final test because if the West Indies were to draw this particular match, they would have guaranteed themselves holding on to the Winston Trophy. But now, if they end up losing this match, match 3 is very, very important for England.
Yeah.
In order to wrestle the trophy away.
What I couldn't understand about England is why would they drop Broad in the first test? I couldn't understand that. I mean, yeah, it's been on for a long time, but the man's still getting wickets. What's he do? claiming wickets again.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I couldn't understand that. I was like, huh?
The whole scenario of picking teams, it's hit or miss because you watch someone train and they sometimes may not train well, but you put them in a game and
They rise to the
yeah,
occasion.
yeah. So
There's some athletes that are like that.
yeah,
There's
yeah,
definitely some athletes like that.
yeah.
That their training is not on par with you
Hmm.
want, but when the game comes,
Right,
they shine.
right.
They
But it'd
definitely
be
shine.
interesting because if they win it, what do they do with Jaffa Archer? Do they bring him back in?
Good point. You think that if they win, you think they'll bring it back in? Or still the same? If they ain't broke, don't fix?
Yeah, it depends on what wicket they're going to play on
That's a good
and
point.
what the conditions will be like. They've been successful with what they had this game, um, but remember, in the first match, it was England dropping catches and playing some rash shots that got them out. This game, it's been the West Indies dropping catches and getting playing shots that they shouldn't be playing and getting themselves out. So cricket's funny. It's one of those
Sports.
things. Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
the beauty of sports.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yes, you can predict at times. And you
Mhm.
can be right. But the beauty is that you're always on your P's and Q's because you don't know what could happen.
I always go back to James Buster Douglas.
Oh, boxing.
No one gave that guy a chance against Mike Tyson. And you remember, Tyson knocked him down in the fourth round,
That's right. And he came back.
but he came back to the end. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess you could
Yeah.
say the same thing with remember Leon Spinks?
Yeah.
Knocked out Muhammad Ali, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice. But I don't think he got knocked down, meaning Leon Spinks got knocked down.
Right.
Buster did and came back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and you know, Mike Tyson goes on as the hardest puncher
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
of all time.
And I think after he had knocked him down, he just wanted to inflict pain on him. So he didn't want to knock him out. And he ended up getting himself knocked out because he could have finished the fight much earlier, but chose to try to, just keep hitting him. And
then he eventually got hit.
well, sometimes all it takes is that one punch
It does.
in the right place, and it changes the whole mechanism of the fight. So,
And so
yeah.
You know, if just switching up here back at home now, if we were in our sports mode, we'd be talking about cup match triumphs.
Yeah, and who would be the team selected and so forth. The funny thing would have been who would have been captain in St. George's.
It'd been that, and how many changes it would have made.
Yeah.
Because in the last 4 or 5 years, they averaged, I think, 4 changes per year.
Yeah.
Right.
The funny thing, as the challengers, you have to you primarily sometimes keep changing the team until you get that formula
Right.
of what you're looking for. And again, as we said, no two games are alike. So it might work if you got the cup, if that one particular team, but when you don't have the cup and you have to take the chances, that player that you've picked might not be given the, when I say proper chance, because you've got to go out there and take chances as opposed to just going out there and taking your time to build your runs and so forth. Where in a game where you're trying to, one, if you're not got the cup, you're trying to get runs as quickly as possible or get wickets as quickly as possible. So, in order, because you have to build the champions out twice in order to win. If not, or hope that they declare one of the inning. But with the cup, you 9 times out of 10, unless you know you're going to be in a position to win it, if you got that much runs, then you would declare. But other than that, you're not declaring.
No. It'd have been very interesting to see what would happen. As you remember last year, Somerset needed like 80 or runs with an hour's play or something like that, or 20 overs. I can't remember.
Yeah,
exactly.
it was just under 20 overs, something like that.
Right, and then Dion got struck. So everyone just like, look, let's be safe.
Yeah.
Both sides.
Yeah.
On that.
And it was getting dark at the time as well.
Yes, yeah. It'd be very interesting to see what happened.
I think it was less than 20 overs. I think it was about 10 overs to go. They needed 70 runs.
Okay.
Or was it, or whatever they needed, but it was less than 20 because it was getting dark.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
interesting. Well, let's take our first commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have our first guest on the line, it'll be Mike Wolf and Ricky Mallory. We'll be back after this.
Inside Sports Talk Radio. With Ian Rollins and Colonel Mason.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio on this Monday, July 20th. Joining us on the line now is Michael Wolf, the president of the Bermuda Lawn Tennis Association, and the vice president, as well as the director, Ricky Mallory. Gentlemen, going on right now at the tennis stadium, you have the Mid-Summer Open. How are things progressing in this tournament?
Good afternoon, everyone. So far, it's been pretty good. We've got a lot of competitive matches going on. We're progressing through the tournament nicely. And we're starting to get down to the meat of the tournament now. We're coming up to the quarterfinals and semifinals tomorrow. So some matches taking place today and going forward for the next few days.
Come this weekend, you have another exciting event, and obviously a lot of the youngsters that are playing now will hope that the event on the weekend is one that continues because it's something to thrive or strive towards, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. The weekend event is our Cup Match Classic, and it's an event we decided to put on as a kind of a replacement for our Davis Cup event. Each year, the BLTA participates in an international tournament called the Davis Cup, and unfortunately, this year, due to the pandemic, it has been canceled. So we decided to put on this event, which is going to see two select teams facing off against each other. Each will be captained by a former Davis Cup player, and you will see a select squad of players who have been qualifying for this event. Pitting their skills against each other over the course of the weekend.
Ricky, we see a lot of the youngsters now on the courts, and we've watched a lot of people actually playing up South P as well during the tournaments that MTM have put on. But it looks like it's starting to really grow the sport of tennis again on the island. How are things as far as the development side going? Because in order to get to play these events, you need some basics. How are you working those out?
As far as the development, as you know, we have the in the schools program where the coaches go into the schools, into the PE programs, and introduce tennis to the kids. So that's really our buy-in. So if we keep developing youngsters at that age, then they'll come through the ranks, and they'll come up to the under 10s, under 12s, 14s, etc. Then they'll one day represent Bermuda at the senior level and Davis Cup.
When you guys are looking at how this tournament that's presently going on is developing, especially I'm seeing a lot of the under 10s. Do you think they need to be more active playing and or training to improve their skills?
Well, I'm always going to be partial to someone putting in more time playing tennis. So I would give that a definite yes. Obviously, with tennis, it's repetitious, so the more you play, the better you get.
Mike, tennis is back up and thriving now, and now with the sports in Bermuda, that is it's coming back slowly but surely. What has been the success of tennis? And we've seen it with Madison's tennis tournaments, now with the Bermuda lawn tennis. What's the success behind this?
I think it's just been our ability to get back into the sport quickly, and the fact that we've been able to get up and running, and we've got players who are hungry to get out there and hit some balls. What we're taking advantage of too is a lot of our juniors who are back on island from school and different academies and whatnot. These players are used to training 2-3 times a week, having matches every week. So for them, during the pandemic, there was a void. Us being able to get the sport back up and running has filled that void and giving them an opportunity to play. With them being out on the courts, it also encourages other people to come out and play. Spectators come out and watch, and you kind of get that bug where you want to go out and let me hit some balls myself. So it's been a win-win for us, just being one of the first sports up and running.
Earl and I were just agreeing with you, saying how you got the youngsters back from school because of the pandemic, and now it's brought in a flux of people watching them and them saying that they want to be a part of this tennis. I think that bodes well for your organization. It's interesting how you always want to take young people and you say, look, we want to send them overseas, get more experience. and then like there's a drop off because of numbers. Now that you got them back here, it seems like it's working in your favor. It's kind of hot right now playing tennis this time of day. How do these people succeed in this weather?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because, especially at the junior level, we have sometimes a few parents say, "Oh my goodness, it's kind of hot for them to be playing." And the one thing that we always stress is, if your kid's looking to participate internationally from theater, when you travel overseas, it doesn't matter what time of day it is. If your match is called, you have to play. So this is actually very good conditioning for these kids to get out there and start hitting some balls in this weather. And with the amount of training that they're putting in at the various clubs, these kids are at very good fitness levels. And like I said, it just helps them in the long run.
Where do you see tennis, Mike, in the next 2 to 3 months again? Because we're going into the fall season. That will be here sooner than we think. Hopefully, schools will be back up and running. Where do you see our programs with tennis at that time of year?
We're still looking at increased activity. There's a slew of tournaments coming up by the BLTA, MCM, and a few other clubs, and all talking about putting on tournaments. Once the schools get running again, that now allows us to put in our Chub in the Schools program, where our PE teachers, like Rick said, they go where the pro registry players here get to go out to the schools, participate in the PE classes with the kids. We think the activity is going to continue. We're certainly going to do our best to make sure that there are opportunities out there for not only the kids, but also for some of the senior players, as we'll be looking to do things like our Winter League, and we also have the tennis ladder running as well. So plenty of activity ahead, and hopefully that keeps them on the court.
Now that sports is, like I said, thriving and starting to make its way back to the island, did you guys surprise the turnout that you had for tennis thus far?
Yes, definitely we have. And I actually want a greater turnout on the 25th or 26th for this Cup Match Classic. It's going to be the top 8 players on the island. It's going to be a showdown between East and West. Somerset and St. George, that's what you want to play.
Well, yeah, rightly so, because you were saying East and West. I was kind of confused. Like, this is an all-star game? I thought you meant Somerset and St. George's, so I'm trying to ask you right now, where's your loyalties lie, Mr. Mallory?
Well, obviously, I'm an East guy. My uncle Bobby played Cup Match for St. George, so I definitely go to the St. George's team.
Fair enough. You don't have the cup. I understand. Not a problem. And Mr. Wolf. And next, Mr. Wolf. Pardon me?
I said, even if my son's playing for the West, I'm still for St.
George. Understood. Smart man. Your son is for Somerset. I get that.
Ian is looking for somebody to say that for the West. Mr. President?
Okay. Yeah, my blue and blue all the way.
I have no problem with you gentlemen being for St. George's. I have one thing that you guys need. The cup.
Yeah, well. They say that's why you play the game.
That's true. That is true.
Okay,
that's why we play the game.
We will eventually become the champions. Yeah.
Don't worry. I had to wait at one time 20 years, so I get it. Yeah. But no, friends, back to your tennis. I'm sure you guys looking forward to this classic, the Somerset versus St. George's. And he says the 25th and 26th. What time is that event on those 2 days?
The matches will start at 11 o'clock.
11 to 5.
11 p.m. That's hot, man. That is hot. Whoa. Okay, fair enough.
Like I said, if these guys travel to any other countries, depending on where we are, it could be even hotter.
Yeah. Good point. That's a good point. That's true. You're right. That's a good point. Okay. Is there any other?
I got one question. We see the influx of the young men that have come back and are now being able to really have top level battles. Where are we positioned with the females? Because we all seem to get a group of young ladies, they go for a while, and then it's a drop off.
So just like with the young men, we've had young ladies come back during this time as well. Ladies like Shelby Medeiros, Jasmina Douglas, she's back on the island. So they are back. They're participating in the tournaments. They're training. They're actually in this tournament here. So you're seeing the same type of activity for the ladies as you are for the men. And whilst we recognize that there's a shortage of young ladies playing at a higher level, what some of the tournaments have done recently is we've hosted tournaments that are unisex, basically. So it's an open division, and the ladies can actually play with the men, just to encourage them to get some match play and make it more competitive for them even.
Yeah, and it would appear that the young ladies are enjoying that because it actually gives them another challenge as opposed to just playing female. So mixing it up like that actually gives them some extra incentive because if they're beating up on some of the guys, they got something to brag about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, is there anything else you'd like to add that we did not put forth?
Yeah, let me just give you a little rundown of how the format of this tennis class is gonna go.
Sure.
We're gonna have four main players on each team, and each team will have one reserve. So on the first day there'll be singles, the four singles. On the second day there'll be reverse singles and doubles. Now the catch is, if they split 5-all, then the reserves have to come in, and it's all going to be decided by the reserves.
Interesting. That's very interesting. That's very. Who came up with that format?
Hey, come on.
So it's all about making it exciting for the players. And the actual teams are being selected via a draft. So we're having the number 1 and number 2 players doing the picking. And there will be a coin toss. And number 1 or number 2 player will get the first pick. They'll pick one player. And then the next person will get to pick the next 2 players.
Now, because the number 1 player, or whoever gets that first pick, they can also defer that first pick to get the next 2 players.
Which is a smart.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we understand. We just talked about it. Yeah, we definitely understand that. This is a real draft coming about, huh?
Definitely. And the draft.
So there's a little strategy involved.
Yeah. And that's going to take place Thursday night?
Yeah.
Thursday night. And also with the tournament, there's some automatic picks, obviously. But with the tournament that's going on, depending on how some of these top juniors finish in this tournament, in the 18 and under division only, we'll see them either placed or possibly selected for the team. So there's a lot riding on this tournament that these guys are playing in now.
Yeah, whoever wins the 18 and under division has a guaranteed spot in the Classic.
Okay.
Well, let me ask this one last question. The number 1 player, does he get to pick who he represents?
That's a negative. They will both be flipping a coin to see if they go to St. George's or Somerset.
That's a good one. That's a negative.
You will have some Somerset guys playing for St. George's.
Whoa. Okay.
That's match fixing at its best.
All right, gentlemen. All the best and enjoy next week, and keep us up to date on that.
Definitely. Thanks again for having us.
Not a problem. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll take a commercial break and we'll be back after this.
Inside Sports Talk Radio has been Inside Sports Talk Radio. Inside Sports Talk Radio. With Ian Rollins and Earl Mason.
And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. Just a quick update in the test match of West Indies and England. Captain Mr. Holder just got bowled for 35, so it's definitely the balance of England. England need 2 more wickets for victory. In reply, West Indies require 128 runs for 2 wickets in hand. Slim Pickens. Anything's possible.
Well, yeah.
Anything's possible. Well, joining us on the phone now is Chico Baboon. He's been no stranger to Inside Sports Talk Radio. As you know, he's one of those gentlemen that take care of himself, mentally, physically, as a bodybuilder, as a physique person. He's been involved in the Arnold Classic. He represented Bermuda, and he's competing in men's physique. Good afternoon, Chico. How are you, sir? I'm good. Now, we all know that, you blossomed, you went overseas, you climbed the ladders, and you've been doing some personal training overseas. You're overseas now, and what's it like doing the training over there at this time of the year with this COVID-19?
Well, it's definitely a different world over here with the COVID as a factor of everyday living. But once I get into the camp, it's kind of like it's very secluded. So once I enter the gate for the duration of the camp period, so it's business as usual when we get inside.
So just for our listeners, I didn't say where you were. So where exactly are you right now, and how is the training going? Is it like 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day?
So I just got back to Bermuda, but the camp was in Miami. So I did my camp is actually located in Miami. I'm signed with Untitled Chapter. So I come out of their camp, Alex Ramirez and Rosemary. They're my coaches. So I'm back in Bermuda now. We just kicked that over the game plan for December for the Caribbean Grand Prix. But yeah, training out there consists of between 3 to 4 hours. They're more tailored to how I look like, how I feel. So it's not really a set training regime. Everything is custom. So they're constantly checking me, checking my weight, checking how I look, my water retention, etc., etc. So it's very custom based for my training regime in Miami.
Chico, what have you heard about future tournaments towards the end of the year? Because in Central America, they're kind of having a big problem with COVID down there.
Absolutely. So I think it's unfortunate, but I know a lot of competitors that are from South America that I competed with at the Arnold Classic. So they're just trying their best to cope and still train as best as they can down there. And once the opportunity arises for them, I know that they will take the opportunity to actually either compete within South America or be able to travel somewhere where they can compete. But I know like places like the States, I know a lot of people get ready for Olympia. Olympia dates have changed to the 17th to the 20th of December. They're having it in Planet Hollywood for the first time, so that's going to be pretty iconic. So a lot of people that were supposed to compete during September have now set their goals towards December. And there's a couple of December shows out as well. But if you do look, there's a couple shows in Tampa. So shows are starting to pop up within the state. And it's pretty difficult outside the state right now. It just depends on the COVID situation that our country's going through.
How were you able to train, Chico? Because you've been overseas for quite some time. You go back and forth. The training program must have been a little different compared to the past.
Absolutely. So the greatest advantage of going to a training camp is that I get to rest. I'm not distracted with day-to-day activities like work. Even though I do miss my kids and family when I do go away, I have that opportunity to actually rest. As rest is as important as the training. So it's nice. There's really no TV, no really internet access. You read more. So you're actually training your mind as well as your body at a training camp, or the training camp that I go to. So it's more focused on one goal and one goal only.
Did I hear right? You said no TV, no internet, so no outside access other than the people that you're working with inside the camp?
Absolutely. So it's like certain times there'll be one segment where there's really no access. I may have like an hour at night where I can FaceTime my family and loved ones, and then after that it's back to business. But that's no TV. But as soon as I got to the camp, there's a selection of books that they want me to read. So the time that I'm not training and it's a little bit of downtime, I just go off like to the bay and just read. Just to get, meditate, relax. Because, all of that plays a part in bringing out the best package when you come on stage.
Now, Chico, you're back home, so obviously they give you a program to follow through. So how are you able to keep this up? I know you guys do video conferences and that sort, but again, with COVID-19 restrictions at various gyms in Bermuda still in place, uh, protocols are still in place, which is obviously the safe reasons. How are you able to cope with that and be on par for if you want to go to Planet Hollywood this fall?
So with the gym, I'm unfortunate. Part of the team is Alfonso from Elite Fitness Gym is one of my biggest sponsors as well. So we're training with him. We actually allocate just a one-on-one with me and him as the eyes and ears of off-utility sports coming out of Miami. So it's really been a blessing. And then if I can't get to the gym, I do have gym equipment at my house where I can actually train at the same intensity. So me arriving back to Bermuda, we're talking about the COVID, so I had to get a pre-test before I flew away. I had to get another test in Miami. I had to take a test when I arrived in Bermuda, and then I had to take another test to get my double negative. So I'm still pending 2 more tests. So you just have to work around what the regulations are for the COVID situation we're going through right now as best as possible. So I just make the best out of it, but I put everything in place where there's no excuse for me not to train.
Mm-hmm. So you're still under quarantine, and hopefully you can get your results, in 2 days or so, or something like that you're waiting on?
No, so I'm out of quarantine right now, so I got my double negative.
Okay.
So it's actually 4 tests when you arrive in Bermuda that you have to do. So once you land the 3rd day, the 7th, and the 14th day. So I've done the first, 3rd, and I'll do the 7th day tomorrow, which hopefully the test results come in as negative with the other 4 that I've done. So, it's just gotta work around and keep positive and just try not to be negative of how things are and just, not spend that type of energy on that and just focus that, this is what it is, and just go back to work and focus on December.
Chico, I want to go back to where you were talking about no TV, no internet access and all that, because I think that's vital for athletes, especially young athletes, to be able to put themselves in a position that you start reading, you start meditating and all that. Give us a sense of how that changed for you, because it's got to be something different, and how you managed to cope through it.
Absolutely. I think it was the first time that our coach and team has actually incorporated that into my training regime, and it is actually a big factor. It's all part of the meditation part, makes you reflect. It calms you down. You're not thinking about other things that you're not supposed to be thinking about. It just keeps your mind sharp, and it just takes you away from all these distractions. Um, I read a favorite book of mine that I read before, but I read it again when I was at The Alchemist. So I fully enjoyed it. Second time reading it, it completely hit me differently. The second time because I was in a whole different situation in my life with, the training and everything. So my mind was in a different place. So it actually elevated me being more focused on what I had to do. But yes, you're right. It is important for athletes, young athletes, to actually incorporate that. It takes you away from distractions. You know what I mean? It's vital for a training regime.
With that type of program you're putting in place now, you've just learned how to put it in place while being in Miami and you're back at home. You're also working, as well as putting your body through this and putting yourself through it. So how are you able to balance that, putting the focus on that type of program?
Absolutely. So it's for me, preparation and scheduling is vital. So I can't procrastinate because I do have massive responsibilities at work. and which I want to give my job actually 120% as well. But they are very supportive with my job. But like I said, you have to schedule. Like if I have to be at the gym 5 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night, do some cardio during lunchtime, where it doesn't interfere with my job, that's what I have to do. And also still incorporate family time, which is definitely important. So, I think just scheduling and knowing what you have for the week, with being said with like meal prepping or packing your bag or even packing your clothes for each day of the week, like little things like that will help you to not be flustered or frustrated or miss a workout. But it's something that no one can teach you. You have to you have to take it upon yourself to be organized like that, because if you're going towards a goal, there can be no excuses at all. Like something as easy as scheduling or prepping 2-3 hours on a Sunday shouldn't be an excuse to not do what you gotta do for the week.
I think last time we spoke, Chico, you said that you had a person that prepped your meals. Is that still in place for you now?
Well, since the COVID, I've been able to actually cook food because it's been working home. Had the opportunity and advantage to be able to cook my meals throughout the day and stuff like that. So it's still a rotation at work. We're still working from home first day. So I've been able to just prep these meals and stuff at home. It's become second nature over the COVID period. But I like, it's not really cutting into my schedule too much. But if it does, I would definitely reach out again for that additional help.
With the group that you're working with now, did they give you any idea of maybe you can go up in weight or come down in weight in order to get the best out of your body?
Absolutely. So for the classic physique class, the weight has up to 212 pounds coming in to weigh in to the weight. So which is a dramatic increase from what it used to be. I think it was like 190 something. So it gives the amateur athlete just a little bit more playroom to be a little bit bigger coming on stage. So now I'm still in phase 3 of my prep. Well, I'm still focused. So I've got about 8 more weeks to bulk until I move into my next phase where I'm starting to kind of dial down a bit, trying to incorporate a little bit more cardio, stuff like that. It depends what I look like, and depending on that, that's what my program for phase 4 will be. So, but yeah, it's definitely a different regime because for now we're trying to up my weight so I can actually come in on stage a little bit heavier from when I came in on with the March.
And in March, what were you weighing then?
So I was on stage at 185. So that was pretty good. It's actually heavier than the last couple of shows, and my weight has been increasing. On a good pattern, on a good uprise with weight being on stage. So we're just trying to. I can be on stage at 190, 195 with my fingers crossed. But in 190, that'll be a great accomplishment since March to gain that type of lean muscle mass for any show in December.
Has your grocery bill changed when you were on COVID-19? Because we had to go down and do the alphabet. So did you pack everything on day when B's went? It was Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't know what day, but Mondays and something like that. So Mondays and Thursdays. Did you shop Monday and Thursday, or was it just Mondays? How it worked for you?
So I did the online. So I actually just placed my order online. The majority of the time, that service is amazing. I just picked the order and just picked up when I had to pick up, at Marketplace or wherever. But I did the standing in line, and then I kind of binge shopped when I went inside during the COVID. I said, let me put some more control on this and shop online and pick up what I need, and then I'll pick it up like that. So it did spike a bit, because it was kind of a panic. You didn't know what direction. COVID was so brand new when everything happened. Sometimes you have to overshop because you don't really know what's going to happen going forward. So I'm just glad that it's calmed back down and kind of some sort of normality with the groceries where I'm buying what I need, um, and I'm not overstocking no more. So I'm happy with that. But definitely a little bit of a spike.
What was the conversations like with the trainers and the people that you were training with initially when you guys got into camp? Because everybody would have a different view on COVID, on staying safe and staying healthy. So what was those conversations like?
So my coach and team in Miami, they're very positive. Um, you know, it's you know, there's, like I said, it's always positivity. They always take a bad situation and look at all the pros, not the cons that comes with it. So, you know, they was asking me our experience, my experience in Bermuda. Bermuda's got a very stringent process and regulations. And, our COVID numbers are not like the rest of the world due to, everything being put in place. The majority, the majority of everybody in Bermuda being, very cautious and safe. Not like states where, like right now, Miami is a hot spot of camp. So, but they say the camp is actually located in Biscayne, which is not really that much cases there. It's a very small, close community where the facility is, but like it doesn't really affect them too much because my coaches actually stay on the facility ground, so they don't even really go outside the facility. All they do is just stay there and they just train athletes. So, but like I said, they're positive. I'm also positive as well. This too shall pass. Um, and whatever comes with it, just make sure that we're safe. That's the best we can do, right?
And you're absolutely right about that. Is there any final comments you'd like to add that we did not ask, Chico?
Um, I just know that any competitor that actually is going to compete at the end of the year or even before or even early next year, and have been grinding and still doing what they have to do, I say that's commendable to any athlete in any sport pursuing, their goals despite all the challenges 2020 has thrown at us. It has definitely been one of those years that was, unexpected to him. So any athlete that's actually still getting ready to compete, what I gotta say is, big respect to them and you know what I mean, just keep pushing. That's motivation. That's motivation for me as well.
Well, keep up the hard work, Chico. I mean, the old saying is what you put in is what you get out, and it's obviously you've been putting in the time for a number of years. You love the sport, and you've been growing, and you've made strides. So, no sense stopping now. Keep on moving. Hopefully, you can be into Planet Hollywood competing this year. I think that's what you said you want to do, or other. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, but again, it will be a Caribbean Grand Prix
I'm sorry.
here. I'm gonna start off the well, it's like my pre-start for next year's season. So I'll do the Grand Caribbean Prix here, pending. Everyone says it's the go. That the show is on. So even if it's on or not, I'll be ready. Um, and then looking forward to 2021 for a long season, at least 3 shows next year.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Chico, for your time. I know you got a busy schedule. Keep up the good work, and I know you're putting in the time in the local gym with Alfonso, and congratulations on that. He's working with you. He's a good man. He's putting in the time as well. So we look forward to seeing you hopefully competing in December.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
All right.
Not a problem. It's a pleasure having you on, man. Look forward to having you again.
Okay, thanks, you guys. Have a great day.
Likewise. Take care. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we will be speaking with Shakira Warner, Population Health Specialist of the Office Group.
We now return to Inside Sports Talk Radio. With Ian Rollins and Earl Mason.
And
our next segment of the program is Life, Health, and Wellness.
We're back. Welcome back. I forgot about the intro. Forgive me. Welcome back. And on the phone with us right now is Shakira Warner, Population Health Specialist for the August Group. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday. And I just got this energy, and it's like 2:09. Just got all this energy. Where do you get this energy from?
I don't know. I spoke with you earlier this morning or earlier today, and I said that I had a little bit of a work from home mishap. So I just tried to, make the most out of that situation. And actually, it's a good segue into the topic for today. So for the listeners, what happened to me this morning is, in Bermuda, in the summertime, when it's very humid, doors tend to get swollen and get stuck. So basically, I got locked or shut out of my home office this morning. So today's topic, and the reason why I say that's a good segue into today's topic is because we're going to be talking a little bit about vacation and personal time off. So pretty much today, I was forced into a vacation day because I can't access my computer. But I'm looking at it like a good thing, right?
Yeah, that's a good thing. But forced into it, not bad.
She just wouldn't. If the door was supposed to push, she kept pulling.
Oh,
yeah. She wanted the day off. Yeah, she wanted.
You wanted the day off. I got it. I'm a little slow today. I got it. All right, you wanted the day off.
Yeah, so I think around, we're in summer right now. I can't believe it's July 20th. But I think in a lot of cases we've missed some of the cues of summer. Like, so for example, students finishing up the school term and going out for summer, kids going into summer camps, the parties, the concerts, cricket games, we kind of missed those this summer. And so you've also got this opportunity where people, typically take vacation time during the summer, and now they're kind of stuck, like, okay, well, do I take my vacation days and personal time off, or do I just kind of work right through the summer? So you've got on two ends of the spectrum. You've got people who are still out of work, or who've been laid off from their jobs, and then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got people in fields like healthcare and the police service and kind of our essential workers and people doing deliveries who are working very, very hard at this time. So you've got those two ends of the spectrum. So for people who are still working, they may be struggling to rationalize taking vacation days and personal time off. And the reasoning behind this is because, one, if people had travel plans, the traveling, it just might not be a reality right now, whether that's for financial reasons or just logistically. Also, there's a cultural element of it as well, why people are not taking or struggling to rationalize taking vacation days. Because if people see their managers kind of working at 100%, keeping kind of, working outside of typical working hours, if people are seeing their managers not taking time off, then it feels kind of wrong, even if the thought crosses your mind to take vacation. So that's kind of where the cultural element fits in. And then on a personal level, people are really worried about or thinking about their job security. If they're working from home, they may be saying, well, if I'm not working at 100% and I'm always on, then perhaps, you might not feel like you're as valuable. So people are feeling like taking vacation time and personal time off is selfish, or it's perceived that you're kind of putting your own job at risk. So those are the reasons why people are kind of challenged, or what barriers they face in kind of approaching whether or not they should take vacation. I think one of the elements of the pandemic that has really been called out is related to stress and burnout. So people who are either in predicaments whereby they're out of work, and then on the other end of the spectrum, people who are working probably harder than they were, maybe 6 or 7 months ago. So people are kind of still challenged to, create that separation between work and home. And as I mentioned before, there's like less indicators for summertime. So usually for summer, we've got these things to look forward to. But in many cases, those travel plans and kind of social activities have been canceled. So, with that being said, I think there's still an opportunity to kind of use our vacation days as a kind of part of our stress management and self-care toolkit. So, I'm just going to give a couple tips of how to make the most of your vacation.
And I was going to ask you because then there are some people that want to take a vacation and say, look, I deserve a vacation. I've been working hard from home. There's some people, like you mentioned, that put in more time at home as opposed to in the office. So how would you spend your vacation, or tips you give us on how to spend your vacation online this year?
Yeah, so number one is if you've already booked time, so if you planned a family vacation or even like a little weekend getaway, if you are intending to travel but can't, still take those days anyway. Take that time and use that time to shut off completely from work. Like just send an email to your team and saying, I will be unreachable except for an emergency. And just use the time to just almost divorce yourself from work if you can. I know it's kind of easier said than done in some cases and for some jobs and some professions, but you do need the time to kind of hit that reset button.
Mm.
Recommend is talk to your HR department. See how many days you can actually carry over. So if you've got a lot of times there's a limit on how many days you can carry over into the following year. So if there's a minimum that you need to take that you'll use if you can't carry them over, then certainly take those days. And it doesn't have to be a long 2.5 weeker. But even if it's just packing on a long weekend here and there, just so that you have that time to just decompress and kind of create a little bit of a separation between work and your personal life. The second tip that I would say is, just like if you were traveling overseas, try to coordinate with your family and your friends. So typically, if you're making travel plans, you kind of get the crew together and figure out how you're going to, what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. But if you're having a staycation, certainly do the same thing. And one of the, I guess, great things about almost being kind of forced to stay here is that you can rediscover Bermuda. I think for many of us, we live here, but we don't really get to appreciate Bermuda from the cultural perspective and the historical perspective. So that's kind of where I'm getting into just play tourists and do it with your friends and family. So there's plenty of things that you can do that are quite active, such as water sports. Also, walking tours to St. George's or bike tours. Kind of renting a Twiggy. There's so much that you can do and so much that's available, and that's and you can find these things out by checking the Bermuda Tourism website or Facebook or Instagram. There's plenty to do.
That's some good points you brought out there. But the interesting part, I'm going to put you on the spot, is that you're used to going to the east or the west of the island this time of the year to support your respective team. How are you going to spend it?
How am I going to spend Cutner?
Correct. That is correct. Yeah.
So typically, every year, my dad's side of the family comes down to my house, and we have a family barbecue. Over the last couple of years, like I've been going to the game both days for all day. So I think I am going to miss it a little bit, but I'm going to use the opportunity to reconnect with my family. Have a couple laughs, eat the good food, and just enjoy that fellowship.
And that's good. I mean, that's good because it's a way to unwind and you see friends and families again, and of course, social distance or numbers and keep those things in point.
Keeping those things in check, making sure that we've got hand sanitizer, hand soap, and also limiting the people. So, family, I apologize in advance. You might not make it on the list this year, I guess.
At least you're being honest, right? I mean, you got to be careful for everyone. That's not just you; it's all of us, right? My question is, I wonder if the grocery stores are going to be open because usually Cup Match Day marketplace is usually open, right? But what if they be open this time around?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think I have to say that the grocery stores and those who are working in the grocery stores have been doing an excellent job of communicating what people need to do in terms of going into the grocery store, staying safe, and importantly, keeping their staff safe. and it's very clear that the staff are aware of their rights as employees, which is very positive.
And you're absolutely right about that. Just switching back here, the point that you used about vacation because of what we're going through the world, it is COVID-19. Those are some valid points. I think that we should take advantage of it. Yeah, staycation and do the best we can. There are going to be some who will say, I'm going to go overseas still, and experience it, and that's their choice, and they can do what's best for them. We all have a choice, all right? So you do what's best. So I think in the time that's coming up for next week, Thursday, Friday, we do the best we can, be safe and sound. And there's points I think that you outlined are very valuable points, and I think we could spend it wisely.
Definitely, and I think a point to drive home is, we've got people who, people who are going to choose to go overseas, and one thing that I would say is please check, Ministry of Health guidance as to what you need to do in order to travel. Also check the guidance in, whatever jurisdiction you're traveling to, just to make that you're safe, secure, and also not caught in a lurch, basically. The other point that I'd like to drive home is that, we do have people who, people who are struggling right now. And what I want to say is that having a quote unquote staycation, it doesn't need to be expensive.
True.
It means that you're just carving out time for yourself. So, and that's kind of doing something that you enjoy, trying something new, and doing it with people, doing it with friends or loved ones, obviously in limited numbers. So really using the vacation days and taking personal time off is more about using that as a tool in your self-care toolbox. So don't wait until you're experiencing stress. Don't wait until you're experiencing burnout. Use those vacation days as a time to say, okay, I'm going to proactively just give my brain a break. I'm just going to, take the time to just reconnect with friends, family, and myself. So that's what we're kind of promoting when we're talking about taking the vacation days.
Ms. Warner, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, I want to ask you a question about how the Argus staff are doing.
Are you feeling burnout? Do you have
Well, we're back. Ms. Warner, the Argus staff, some of them are now back into the office. How are they adjusting to the new layouts that you guys have to kind of put in place in order to make sure that your staff stays safe?
Yeah, so our team, including our HR, our managers, and our kind of health and safety team, they've been very clear and they've been doing an excellent job in communicating with staff, and not just our staff, but our customers, as to, how that business interaction takes place. So for staff who need to be in the office, who are absolutely client facing, it's about making them feel safe, secure, and aware of their rights. And then for staff who are still, who are, for example, taking care of, family members, their parents, they still have the option of working from home. So where it's possible, there still is that flexibility. And of course, we are still able to service clients, whether that's, in person at the office or online or digitally. And I think with going into shelter in place and these new working from home arrangements, we've really been kind of working and trying to figure out what our staff need. So asking them, surveying them, what can be implemented to help make your job or make doing your job a little bit better or make your circumstances a bit better. One of the things that we did a couple of weeks ago, which was an amazing experience, is we have our annual Employee Appreciation Day. This year it looks a little bit different. So instead of doing the typical, in-person celebration, breakfast activity, for example, we had a drive-by. So our staff were able to drive into our parking lot, pick up some goodies and some work from home essentials. And it was good to have that contact. And I think it was a different way of showing our employees that we appreciate them. kind of COVID style, if you will.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, COVID has given everybody a new sense of how things will be done differently in order to still operate
True.
and still be positive and to still actually show the people that you work with that you care about them and you want to listen to how they feel about trying to be safe as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think that with working at Argus and other businesses, whether they're kind of office-based businesses or, kind of client, truly client-facing or service businesses, I think everyone is still figuring it out, but having those ongoing conversations and that ongoing feedback about how employees are feeling, whether, things can be improved, what's working versus not working, those conversations are going to be critical to moving forward. And I think that's where the trust and the credibility and kind of the feeling that we're in this together, the element of togetherness, I think that is what's going to be critical for success.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add, ma'am, that we did not ask?
No, nothing more to add. I hope that you guys are having a great start to the week, and I hope that continues throughout.
I think we will. I think we have a great week. It's been good. Be a good one next week. Had a great session this morning, Dave Wolf's class. I'm sure you'll be there one day this week.
Well, I have to say that I'm not quite mentally there to get back into the physical gym, but I do have my on-demand workouts that I'm doing.
I'm sure he's putting you through the paces. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, and do enjoy your holiday. Be safe and sound, and we see you on the other side after the holiday. And I know you'll see the cup one day. And I'll leave it like that.
Wow. And with that being said, I'm going to sign off and say St. George's all the way.
Thank you very much.
Take care. All right. Bye-bye. Just going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we have Mr. David Lambert, the former ELTA president and now president of the Registry of Tennis. But before we take that commercial break, just to give you an update on the England Test Series. England now leveled the series 1-1 with one more test. Today they won by 113 runs in the final. West Indies all out for 198. Real interesting there, but Earl had talked earlier about the England finding runs hard to come by. Not England, sorry, West Indies finding runs hard to come by. I'm just looking at the scorecard. Only 4 players in double figures. Of the 4, 3 were 35 or more. So one player made 35, one made 55, one 62. And the other double figure was 12 runs.
Yeah.
So that's weird.
The consistency.
Yeah. It fell down.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But going into the series, the pundits were saying that it seems like both teams are kind of level. So right now, it's 1-1.
Yeah.
So it's level. So it comes on to the final one, right?
No, as we were talking before, who gets dropped? Do we keep the same teams?
Oh, yeah.
How does it all look?
Yeah, especially in English case with Archer, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't take him. I'll be honest. I wouldn't be surprised.
Like you said before, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Or don't try to fix it, or don't try to change it. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. And on another note, the ICC have announced that the men's 2020 World Cup has been postponed until next year. It was due to be held in Australia.
That's right.
At the end of this year, but since which they've postponed it, and it will be held next year. So
they didn't put a date in for next year.
They have, but I just can't find it.
Okay, no worries. Well, at least you know it's postponed now. It's not going to be happening in 2020.
Yeah,
it's all going to take place if all goes according to plan.
Yeah.
For 2021.
It's going to be the 2021 World Cup men's T20 is due to take place in October, November 2021, with the final schedule for November 14th. So October and November of next year will be the 2021 final.
But the schedule will be finalized by November of this year for next year.
Yeah.
A lot of things going to be happening in 2021, huh? If all, again, goes according to schedule.
Yeah.
Regarding sports, that is.
Yeah, so true.
Very much interesting. Okay, let's take a commercial break. We'll be back after this. And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. On the phone with us now is my good friend, Mr. David Lambert. Good afternoon, sir. I'm good. I haven't spoken to you in quite some time. How you been?
Times have changed a bit because normally we would have been together at least a couple of months ago to talk a bit about tennis and what's going on both domestically and internationally. But it's good to hear from you.
Likewise, it's interesting. You know, Earl and I have been talking that tennis is thriving since the COVID-19. We've had representatives earlier on today. We've had Amanda's tennis tournament last week. Now we've got David Lambert on. So you guys are making stride in your sport.
Well, thank you for that. David, how you doing? Tennis was one of the sports that government gave permission to open the industry back up. And I believe most of the pros back in action in early May. The pro registry, the governing body of tennis, we work closely with government, and we sent out information to all the members of the pro registry, 25 of them, asking for any advice, any steps will be taken which will help us, the tennis industry, reopen. And we also reached out to the International Tennis Federation, the USTA, so a combination of different bodies we were able to present to government steps that we should take and took into account the scientists. And to make a long story short, we opened back up and tennis is busy right now.
Dave, you've been around tennis for a long time. I mean, that's more than my lifetime, David.
You can imagine, you gentlemen can imagine that we've seen some things change, a lot of things grow. That's a good thing about it. The sport evolves. And unfortunately, not all of the programs that normally run throughout our calendar year have opened back up. For example, we never returned to the schools for the school program. That was obvious. And as you know, the school program is very important to us because many of our most talented future tennis players are coming from the schools. Many of them have never picked up a racket before. When the pros go in and they work with them, that's where you really can identify a lot of the talent that existed with you. The other program that didn't kick back off, which is doing very well with age concern. And of course, you gentlemen are too young for that, so. But it's time for that to invite you out to come and hit you both.
That's a good one. Too young for that. I like that.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir. I have no problem with that.
Oh, that's what I was talking about, because 4 years ago, he interviewed us over at Alpha when he first kicked it off, and Minister Zane Silva was the Minister of Sports then. So it's been growing since then, and it's quite a large program now that has grown, it's developed. So the age concerned tennis program, everyone comes out, gets some balls, gets some exercise, has some fun. Many of these participants played tennis years ago, and now they're back. So it's great to have all of that going on. But, and as we mentioned the other day, there's a lot of summer camps going on right now. You come by the tennis stadium right now, you see some good juniors. That's where I'm at right now. I'm on the outside looking in at 3 very, very good contested matches. The BLTA took the opportunity of hosting a junior tournament right now because there's so many juniors on the island.
And you're right. So
there's a lot of people on the island right now that are normally gone, and school, and a lot of them that are in tennis academies are here right now. So the level of tennis right now is quite good. So we feel good about that, and it's taking advantage of having a look at all of our talent, because you can always get a lot of our juniors that are overseas in tennis academies all here at the same time. So it's worked out quite well for tennis as far as having those type of matches taking place.
Now, David, you mentioned that you've been in the sport of tennis, the passion that you have for it in 55 years. Now you're wearing the hat as president of the Pro Registry. Explain to our listeners what that entails. What's this all about, this one here?
The Pro Registry, let's go back a bit. Let's go back to 1991, 1992, when I was the president of the Pro Association, which was a separate entity. It was a different group of pros, had nothing really to do with the BLCA. and that ran quite well. Different pros came in. It dissolved a bit, and then about 10 years ago, it was the pros got together and said, let's reform, let's create a body. The ITF always wanted the pros to work together. And then we reestablished and brought all the pros back together. We came in under the BLTA. It was felt that it's best to have everyone under one umbrella. So I'm now, and we have votes, we have terms, but right now, presently, of the pro registry, there's 25 members. All of the pros have to have either taken the ITF, International Tennis Federation, ITF course, or they're in the process of taking it. Many of us also have taken the PTR course. Many have taken the USTA course and also Tennis Canada. And why it's important to take these courses because of the syllabus. And what we mean by that is different clients will come and say, I'm currently training under the ITF syllabus or the PTR. It's a style of coaching. It's a progression. And it's important that the pro knows what the client is talking about. So that's a big part of it. And we also have different fundraisers. We're always raising funds because the ITF, Governing Body of Tennis, is always holding a coaching workshop. And it allows us to send some of our members to these workshops, and then they bring back information and they hold courses and classes for the rest of the coaches. So it's very important that the pros are kept up to date on the latest material, the different types of balls that are being used. As you know, Earl, when you and Earl were playing tennis as juniors, there was one type of tennis racket, 27-inch. Now you have 25-inch, 23-inch, 27.5-inch. You have different types of balls, red ball, green dot ball, and you want to be up to date on what's going on.
And you're right about the balls. I think when Earl and I would come along as youngsters in our days, the balls are either yellow or white, right? And now you got the different colors, the dots
for the different levels.
Different levels. Wow, it's amazing.
And what happened over the years, and I saw Earl down here yesterday. I got excited. I thought Earl Beers was coming to play. I was telling my client, hey, we got to get Earl Beers on the floor. But maybe next time, baby. But the most important thing is
these
different type of balls. Some of them sound different. Like the red ball, for example, took the ITF quite a few years to get it to where they have it. And it's so you don't even consider these balls are like tools. You know, the ball bounces a certain way, it bounces a certain way.
That's right.
And it allows a lot of our juniors and adults who haven't played before time to hit the ball back and forth across the net. So they feel excited. They feel like I can actually play this game. A regular yellow ball is fast. Yeah. So to go and buy 6 cans of new balls to go hit with your daughter or son who's never played tennis before, that's no good because the ball's up. It's going to bounce right past. And you have a lot of juniors that once upon a time had a racket 27-inch. Too much weight for the juniors, so they had tennis elbows, shoulder starts to hurt them. The equipment was just too heavy, and now all of that has changed.
David, how do you, as a coach, identify what a person would need, a heavier racket or a lighter racket? Is it their body, or is it just the way they approach it?
I would say it's the size of their body. We have a lot of juniors that are in our program right now. You get some juniors that come to us with their mom with their tennis racket, which is good. Parents say, "Yeah, have a tennis racket. It's been in the closet for a couple of years. Take it." But it's a 27-inch racket, and the junior is 5 or 6 years old. The racket's going to be too big, too heavy, and they can't control the racket. So you would automatically give them a 23 or 25 inches. It's lighter, it's smaller, and they have to have an easier time controlling it. So they can control the racket. So a lot of it has to do with the size of their body. Of course, they get up around 10, 12 years old. They've been with you for a while. They will evolve into a 26-inch frame. And again, based on the size, you have a young lady coming along very well, 13 years old, just playing 27-inch, and she's strong. She can control the equipment. So yes, the size, the age, and also some juniors just see the ball earlier and they react. So you take all those things into account.
David, you've seen a lot of tennis, and I'm just going to open this up here. You're seeing the times when Eddie Nastasi back in the 70s, Jimmy Connors, to Bjorn Borg, to Sampras, to the top players of today. What is the difference of these athletes of today?
Well, going also back with the equipment, I think that you have take Nadal. Nadal's playing one of the lightest rackets, so he has a very fast head speed. I think also from being to a lot of different workshops and seminars, I think that the player is receiving a lot of valuable knowledge at an earlier age. And they can take that information. Tapes are around a lot now. You have a lot of players sit down after the matches. They started tape whether they win or lose. And a lot of our athletes are faster, bigger. Once upon a time, you had a player 6'5". You said, "Whoa, can they move?" Now, there's a lot of 6'5" players out there moving. And then look at Lindsay Davenport and Bays. You remember when Lindsay was out there, big girl, 6'1", 6'2", didn't move very well. Along came Venus.
Yeah, that's true.
6'1", moving, and you find out that every so often, every era, you find the athletes are faster, quicker. They've been coached with more information, with different equipment. I remember Yvonne Orlando and Martina Navratilova, they were two of the first professional tennis players that they're going to adjust their diet. They're going to get in the gym. And Yvonne Orlando wasn't as talented as Bjorn Borg or Bjorn McEnroe, but he was very disciplined. And Martina Navratilova, I think she was a better ball striker and more aggressive than Chris Evert, but those two, they battled, and I don't think Chris Evert was as big or strong as Martina, but Chris had her style of play. Martina just went into the gym, changed the diet, and does have more to offer from that combination of preparation.
There's some good points. We're agreeing with you as you were speaking. That's true. And you see how much the game has changed because of what you just outlined, the diets, the gyms, the time they put in the 6'5" athlete. You look at him like, yeah, right, 6'5". You even got some of these male guys who are 6'7" and 6'8". One was 6'9", and they're moving.
Yeah, they get to cover the court.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Katrina Adams earlier today, and we'll get together later and talk about Katrina, who's one of the first back-to-back presidents of the USCA. But we were just talking about Naomi Osaka. I didn't realize Naomi is almost bigger than Serena. So then at the prize presentation, she was standing right next to Serena, and she was a good size.
Wow.
We have a lot of those young ladies coming through that they are strong, they're in the gym, they're pressing iron. I think it's almost a requirement to be in the gym now. I don't know if you can come out and just play tennis off talent and think it's enough. You have to adjust your diet, you have to get your rest. We're talking to a lot of our juniors today who are competing in the next hour and saying, you came out this morning, they practiced from 9 to 11, then they had to go home, get a shower, relax, cool off, do something that makes them feel good, not too challenging because they're going to be out here in a couple of hours in the heat. So all of that is preparation. Day and then go play a match, and you're doing the court for the last 4 hours. Because the sun, as we all know, the sun draws energy from you. So we have to take all that into consideration.
David, just recently, Vernal Davis was given a sports citation for the work that he's done in tennis. Can you give us just bring us up to date on some of the things that he accomplished? Only because we often hear about people who do things well in Bermuda after they've kind of gone, and then we get all the messages and everything. So we want to try and enlighten people in Bermuda of what Mr. Davis's accomplishments were in the sport of tennis whilst he was playing.
Well, I can tell you, Mr. Vernal Davis was number one for quite a few years. I remember on a personal basis, I came from Cromwell Mendes. He sent me to Al Puff Smith. Al Puff Smith sent me to Vernal Davis. And when I first came back from Castle Harbor, where I was training, to the tennis stadium with Vernal Davis as the director of tennis, it was all about match play. And to win a set off of Vernal Davis, it took all of what you had and more. I'm not talking about, Davis, I'm talking about one set. He's only playing 2 out of 3 sets. So what Vernal brought to the game was a very high level of match play. And very strong, very smart, really good reflexes. Probably had one of the best cannonball forehands that we've seen. And congratulations to Ronald Davis. Whatever reward or awards he received recently, he should have received it a while ago. Fit, and I hope I'm not speaking out of line, but tennis wasn't the first sport that Ronald Davis was really good at. Now he played cricket, and he had a very good eye. So serve, volley, I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to play a lot of matches against him, a lot of matches with him, because in those days, Winter League, and Dave may remember those days, Winter League was big.
Yeah.
And, to have someone like Ronald Davis playing this beside you, it's a lesson. You're continually learning. He also ran the tennis stadium for quite a while, and again, tennis is very popular, coming back and busy again. And so that's what Ronald Davis brought to the sport. Commitment, focus, come to fight. Coming to play is not enough. You got to come to bring everything you have to that match. And again, going back to preparation, you had to. He pulled everything out of you. You had to run. You had to run the 2 miles a day. You had to do your push-ups and anything else that you could do to bring you to that match as fit as you can possibly be. Ronald Davis in the tournament is probably going to be in the final.
Wow.
In the final.
Wow. Is that good? That's good. David, I want to ask you this, David, and this goes with you because of, again, putting in the time, just like Ronald Davis, but from the administration side. As we all know, David Lambert done a lot for Bermuda from the international side. Can we see you bringing back or inviting more international celebrity tennis people to the island and introduce it to our youngsters?
Yeah, it's funny you said that. I was teaching a client about a month ago, and they were not really living in Bermuda during all those celebrity classes that you were very kind to film. And they would like to do something like that. The good thing about what we've been able to do is we stayed in touch with everybody. And to invite name players or name personalities back to Bermuda to raise funds for the sport and probably another charity. I think the next time we do something, and it's not just going to be for tennis, it's probably going to be for tennis and another charity. And didn't get a chance to talk to Katrina about that today because the time that you took up or the time that you spoke today was all about the Open. As you know, the U.S. Open will start on August the 31st. It finishes on September the 8th. No fans will be invited, but coaches will be there, and obviously it's going to be on, I believe, it's ESPN. But you gentlemen probably already knew that. Are you going up? Going up to?
Yeah, we're going up. We're going up, all right. Up on ESPN on my TV at home, just like you, right? Because I know, David, that's an event that you usually cover because you usually get tickets and invited by your people that are out there, and that's respectfully so.
Yeah, we normally do it every year. I have been invited to come this year, but I'm a little nervous, so I don't think I'm going to make that. We'll wait till next year. But yes, is it possible to have another event? Definitely. It's also a matter of now we're all watching the news and you feel like you're taking one step forward, two steps backwards. And I feel very, very fortunate to be in Bermuda and what we have done as a people to make the country as safe as it is. So, but coming back to your question, yes, we will do another event. I think the last time I was in the presence of you and Earl, we did talk about doing something. I think we probably could have done something this year, but not with this unpredictability. It's too much. It's too much to digest. But yes, we will do something again.
I would say so. I mean, that's a lot to deal with if it was going to be held this year, and then obviously it probably been postponed to next year. One thing I also got to give you credit for, David, I think when you were in contact with Katrina, I think she was then the president of the Tennis Association overseas, you sent some youngsters to Washington. They had some academies in Washington.
Baltimore. we were sending juniors in those days up to Harlem, New York.
New York, okay.
And now I know that different teams have traveled out of here. I know that Ricky, Mallory, and Mike Wolf, they had some teams traveling, so I can't speak on all the teams that travel. We never sent any juniors to Washington, but we did send juniors to New York. And in the past, we've also sent juniors to Atlanta. Stephen Diaz, who's a good friend of ours, he played Davis Cup for Puerto Rico, and then this guy was tired. He could play. And he has a very successful academy in Atlanta. So we've used that relationship, and also Bill Adams from Florida. He sent quite a few juniors have gone down to train in Weston, Florida. Beautiful place. And but right now everyone stepped back a bit, and everybody's home. Yeah, so that's what we're taking advantage of.
Well,
5 more minutes.
well, I was gonna say, yeah, give you your last wrap up before we wrap up. So sure, well, go ahead.
He mentioned that we are holding a tennis camp here at the WERGO Stadium at family, but there's also some quite a few very good programs going on around the island. So if you're in the east or the west or central, wherever, my number 505-2618. Give me a call. If you're coming from St. George's, I can give you the name and the number of the pro. Wherever you are, we can let you know that they're all members of the pro. They're all very good, very talented, and they're all running very good programs around the island. I could give you their names of the pros, and they'll be more than happy to work with your children.
And I see you going on mornings, David. You're leaving, coming out the west like 7:30 mornings. You got a long day ahead of you.
Yeah. I'm about to go on court in about 6 minutes. I see my client over there doing his jumping jacks and push-ups. But the bottom line, Ian, is that tennis is busy. It's alive. It's well. Thanks to a lot of people. Thanks to the federation. Thanks to you and Earl promoting us. Thanks to government for allowing us to open the industry back up. The pros have done their work. There's a lot of tennis going on. Like you're saying, Gavin and Javon, there's like a thing going on at Princess. We're doing something here, Fort Royal, Roma. It's all over. Everyone has their programs running, and we're looking forward to, how could we say it, September. Hopefully there'll be some opening of the schools. I haven't heard that much about that yet. And you could probably tell us more. Are the schools opening up in September?
We know as much as you right now. Hopefully we'll see what happens.
They've come up with a plan on how they want to do it, but actually there's still some discussions and negotiations to go on. So.
Okay, but thanks again for calling, and I hope that the next time we speak, I'll be able to come to you.
Yeah, by all means.
I guess that's the more normal side of things.
You're right about that. It's usually you're here with us sharing your valuable information, but of course COVID-19 has other ideas, but we're getting better at it. So hopefully next time we have you on board, we have you in the studio with us.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Roland. Thanks, Jason.
Okay.
Thank you, David. Thank you for joining us, and all the best in tennis. Keep up the good work. Man's been involved with this thing for 55 years, and he's still getting strong.
And you love something, it's not a job.
He just goes like strong. He just doesn't die. I mean, it's like David's got all his energy, right? Every time you talk to him, he's like something new. He's doing this. He's doing that. The guy has a passion for tennis.
Yeah.
It's remarkable, man. Keep up the good work, David Lambert. We're going to take a commercial break, and when you come back, we'll wrap up our day's segment of Inside Sports Talk Radio. And welcome back to Inside Sports Talk Radio. I just want to thank our guests for joining us today. Again, that was Mike Wolf, Ricky Mallory, Chico Baboon, Shakira Warner, and David Lambert. Unfortunately, due to David Patrick's schedule of NCAA basketball, University of Arkansas called a practice, his head coach, a 4-hour practice. Of course, that's not all physical training. That's probably going through the methods of this pandemic, COVID-19 procedures.
Right? Basically, starting out, obviously, how you enter the stadium or the practice facility, all that has to be put in place, and that's going to take a time. Everybody has to be, tested coming in and so forth, and then obviously the changing facilities and all the other stuff that goes along with it. Before you even get out on the court, you're probably going through an hour and a half of just trying to get ready to get out on the court, and then once you're on the court, you have all the restrictions where, just like the NBA, the players can train without masks on, but coaches and trainers and everyone else must still have masks on and still must do what they can to be social distancing and so forth. So, it's going to take a lot of people, multiple practices to get it all right. But I think the earlier you start,
the better,
and it becomes the norm, it works out better for you.
And perfect example is where David Lambert's talking about U.S. Open. I think it's on the 30th of August to the 8th of September.
Yes.
That's only a week. Usually U.S. Open is 2 weeks, right? It's usually 2 weeks because of the rounds they play.
Right. And I don't think they're going to have the numbers. Right. So it'll probably be a shorter version, but I think they still want to have it. And then, they're planning to have it. It's up to the player if they want to be a part of it or not. I don't think it lessens the competition. I just think for New York and for U.S. Open tennis, they want the consistency of it being played, and we just have to abide by different rules.
And that's understandable. It means procedures for health and safety reasons. Right? And that's important. Right. Some people out there think there's nothing.
We can go to a rally with 10,000 people and say it's 50,000 people and nobody's wearing a mask. So
and out of 50,000 people, there's really only about 2,000 people. And that's a good tic tac for that, huh?
It's all good.
It's all good. Just to let Liverpool people know that not tomorrow, but Wednesday is a celebration at Anfield. The trophy will be handed over, the Premier League Cup, after 30 years. So waiting patiently.
Do they play a game tomorrow?
No.
Or it's just a track. It's just a trophy.
Wednesday.
I mean, that's what I meant. Wednesday. Do they play a game on Wednesday?
Yeah. Chelsea.
Yeah.
I know it's not going to be easy.
No. And right now, Liverpool, what they have left to play for?
Nothing. Well, they had the racket, but
that ran by the wayside. But mind you, on Wednesday, they do have something to play for because you don't want to be embarrassed by a heavy defeat before you get the trophy.
I know. So actually.
Yeah. So they'll have something to play for.
You want that W.
Yeah.
You want to end up with 96 points after Wednesday's game.
Right.
But then on Sunday, the final game of Gold League football, we traveled to Newcastle, so you end up with 99 points.
Oh, okay. Kevin Keegan going to Kevin Keegan.
Pretty much, ain't it?
Remember?
Yeah. All right. That was the 90s, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Then I think the season starts in the middle of September or October. Yeah, they didn't put a date on it.
They didn't put a date, but they have said, obviously the summer is going to be a lot shorter. The transfer window will open.
It's opened. I can't forget the dates that they did announce the transfer window.
And then obviously preseason. But the interesting part is you see regions already scheduling World Cup qualifiers. South America have dates of October and November for their World Cup qualifiers. And one of those places in Europe are talking about having theirs around the same time. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. We're in the CONCACAF region, so the South Americans have got enough problems with COVID down there that it's going to create a big challenge for them to play these games under the conditions in which some of those countries are facing, socially, and trying to play a football game at the national level is going to be very difficult.
It can be very, very challenging.
Yeah.
The last thing was that they were talking about for the new English Premier League season 2020-21 is that should they remain at 5 substitutes?
FIFA has authorized that you will have 5 substitutes until 2021.
Oh, they did finalize.
Yeah, they finalized it over the weekend. So
okay.
They've
is
given
that a
the
favor
permission
for the big clubs?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Also, it
and the funny thing
takes the
is,
pressure off the players.
Well, yeah, but it's for all football.
No, I'm saying, I'm talking about the big clubs have the older players.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And remember, it's going to be a longer management of the season with less time to get ready, because the guys are going to have to shut down a game to be pulled back up to
level.
Yeah.
So preseason is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, coaches will have to listen to physios, will have to listen to all the nutrition people, will have to listen to the psychologists more, because remember, a lot of these players will be going through a lot of stuff emotionally because of the
stress.
Pandemic. So you leave your teammates to go home with all this other stuff going on outside, and then you have to come back to this.
That's a good point. You said go home.
Yeah.
So just think about it. I don't know how long the break is going to be. 6 weeks? You think a lot of players will be going home? I'm talking about the international players, that is.
If their country is deemed okay, I see some of them. Most of them
will probably stay.
If this is your last year of your contract or second to last year of your contract, you stay. Yeah, because you don't want to go somewhere and they close the border and you're stuck on the outside.
That's true.
And close the border in your country as opposed to the UK.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you don't want to get caught out. So
yeah. Okay. Well, that's all the time we have for today on Inside Sports Talk Radio. Thank you, Don Baxter and Mr. Al Baston. We'll be back next week. The week of Cup Match 2020. We have no Cup Match.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah. Well, let's enjoy this boys forever.
Oh, sounds it. The thick and thin. Never walk alone. You know what I'm saying? Enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah.